12 years ago, back in 2000, Nintendo and HAL Laboratory had released the first game where you could see your Pokemon battle in 3D, Pokemon Stadium. As a Pokemon fan, I was excited for this, to see my Pokemon in 3D. I went to the GameStop by my house with my mum to buy it. When we stepped into GameStop, a new atmosphere took over. A gamer atmosphere that took hold of me. I spotted the game box on the second to bottom shelf. I called my mum over to the shelf where it was and picked up the game box. "That's the game?" she asked me. I nodded and ran to the checkout counter where the GameStop employees were. My mum followed and got out my wallet from her purse to pay you the $50 for the game. The GameStop employee looked at the game and got a little confused. "Funny, we weren't supposed to restock these until next week. They were sold out yesterday." "Well, lucky for us you have one left," I said to the man. "Yeah, I guess," he replied. He rang up the game, I paid for it, and then we left GameStop. After we'd driven home, I jumped out of my mum's Ford Explorer and ran inside and took my coat off. My mum hollered at me to slow down, Sonic. I smiled half in pleasure and half in embarrassment at one of my many nicknames. This one was after the speedy blue hedgehog that I got from having the compelling desire to run everywhere. I ran to my room in the front of the house and plopped down in front of my 25-inch TV. It sat on a small television stand that was hooked up to a VCR beside my Windows 95 laptop. I unhooked the VCR prongs from the TV and plugged in my Pikachu Nintendo 64 that I'd gotten from Christmas 4 days ago. I took out Hey You Pikachu and inserted the Pokemon Stadium cartridge. I was so excited to see my Pokemon from Blue version come to life in 3D. I couldn't sit still. I inserted Blue into the control pack and into the controller. I then pushed the Pokeball on switch, which made Pikachu's cheeks light up, and I watched the intro opening. But there was no sound. At all. I checked to see if the TV's volume was muted or something, but it wasn't. Actually, it was all the way up. I thought that maybe the audio prong wasn't plugged in, so I looked at the back of the TV. It was plugged in tight. I turned off the game and restarted it. Now, the volume came up perfectly, but in a lower than expected pitch. I blew that off and went to the Gym Leader Castle to finally see my Pokemon in 3D. I selected to battle Brock first. Bugcatcher was up first and I easily defeated him with Blaze, my Charizard. But as it showed the results, I noticed the boy. He was crying with dark spots that looked like bruises on his face. Did the programmers really make the NPCs losing look like that, so it'd be hard to be satisfied with a win? I went on with the 2 other trainers, and finally up to challenge Brock. I knew it would be tough, since I had the guts to use Charmander, or Charmeleon since I piddled around in Viridian Forest and got him to evolve. I chose my Pokemon and began the battle. The announcer announced our Pokemon, but he wasn't as energized as I'd seen him when I watched other people play at their house. He sounded angry, and a hint of fear pinged in his voice. I was a little bit shocked, and afraid. Brock sent out his Graveler, and it dug a hole, preparing to use Dig. I'd sent out my Seadra, and had told her to use Surf, but it didn't work. Graveler came back up and pounded in Seadra, sending her flying backwards. Seadra didn't lose much HP, but a bruise and scratch appeared on her middle and her face. I didn't see this happen to my friend's Pokemon before, so I got a little nervous. I commanded Seadra to use Hydro Pump, and Graveler went down. But not in the ordinary way. Graveler was weathering away, like a real rock. It cried out in pain as it slowly dissolved into tiny pieces of sediment. I gasped at the sight of Graveler dying? I never thought of a Pokemon graphically dying in front of a battle would be that scary. Brock now sent out his Onix, as I switched to Blaze for a good challenge. Onix roared, and Brock commanded it to use Bind. I groaned at that move, knowing there was nothing I could do besides switching out, and I wasn't doing that. Onix squeezed my helpless Charizard, as Blaze's HP slowly went down for 5 turns. I still hate when a move that can goes on for the maximum for the other person but not me. I waited for the attack to stop, with only a little bit of HP lost. Onix freed Blaze from Bind, and Blaze let out a weakened cry. He wasn't out yet, so I commanded Flamethrower Onyx. I was 5, okay? And it took a good portion of HP and burned it. How very unusual for a rock to get burned. Blaze seemed to smirk from pleasure as he watched the rock snake burn. He suddenly slashed it apart without my command, and the rock snake broke into individual parts. Onyx was flung in all directions and broke even further into smaller pieces, hitting the walls and dropping, the excess fire spreading. The announcer spoke. "Onyx is down!" Brock's speech bubble came up and was being narrated in his voice. "Onyx, no!" Then, the power went out. By that time, the sun had set and it was 6 o'clock in the evening. But strangely, even though the power was out, the TV popped back on. First with static, then the VCR screen. I curiously turned on the N64 again to see if it would work. And it did. Actually, it resumed right where it had shut off. Onyx was still apart on the ground, and Blaze was still smirking, amused by its demise. I was beginning to get into the all-out fear stage, instead of just freaked out. I tried returning Blaze to his Pokeball, but the game wouldn't let me. Brock didn't do anything. The game quieted. I could hear cries of pain and suffering coming from the gym leader. "What have you done?" The announcer spoke through the cries and silence in a raspy voice. "Keep that murderous beast away, you hear? Away!" I shuddered. Blaze smiled at me, his fangs gleaming. This didn't happen. I kept telling myself it was all a dream. I dropped the controller, too shocked to stay in the area for much longer. I then fled my bedroom. I couldn't face that any longer. The announcer's voice and pain flooded my head. "Blaze, why? You were my friend. Why would you do such horrible things?" I said to myself. I locked myself in a closet to think and get away from it all. I've never played that copy of Pokemon Stadium again. It wasn't until 5 years later that my baby brother got into my stuff and deleted the file with Blaze and all my other Pokemon on it. But Blaze's spirit still haunts my very soul even today. The copy of that possessed game lies buried somewhere in Pflugerville, Texas. If you ever find it, do not, and I repeat, do not play it. Thanks for sticking around to the end. And if you enjoyed today's story, make sure to leave a like. And if you want more like it, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a story. If you need more now, why not check out my Pokepasta playlist? I'll leave that on this card, and I'll catch you in the next story.